15,000, 16,000. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to keep going. That is how many people, like 15, 16,000 people who joined us for our free journaling for manifestation, shadow work, and self-care class last time we ran it. And you know what? This class starts again in just a few days. And one of the things, though, that keeps people from joining in this free class that will most certainly change something about your life if you participate is this idea of getting it wrong, doing it wrong, not having time. And I'm here today to tell you that there is very little that you can do wrong with journaling, but there are 3 ways you can know if you're doing journaling wrong. And you got to listen in to find out what they are. We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast. Welcome to this episode of Expedition to Soul. I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and my guest co-host, you're supposed to be like the actual co-host, not a guest co-host, but alas, life stages. My guest here today is my sister, my co-founder, Anna.
And real life hostess, co-hostess with the mostest, the ride or die, the backseat driver to your Sisters Enchanted train.
You are the actual co-host of this show. Like, it's supposed to be a you and me situation, but you had a baby. You had baby number 3, and you're in the thick of baby number 3, like raising to being, from a baby to a small human toddler eventually. And that
self-sustaining humanoid.
That is taking up much of your time, and my guess I just have to wait patiently for you to regularly attend to the podcast again.
To reemerge.
To come back. Anna.
Sarah.
So do you remember the free journaling class? We've only done it once before. This is only our second time doing it. Do you remember? We were in Salem. And we were hosting it.
Continue.
Does this mean you don't remember?
Sometimes I have a really bad mom brain, and I need sometimes lots of helpful hints to get me to where we need to be, which is probably why you don't have me co-hosting so much anymore. Because sometimes I just need you to be like, hey, wasn't that great? And I'll just say, yeah, it was.
Okay, well, we hosted it, and we were in Salem, Massachusetts with several Sisters Enchanted folks, and we were staying in that rental house that we've stayed in. No, we stayed in the house next door before, so we've stayed in both those houses. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this story. And we were there together, and we hosted this free event, and there were so many people that participated. And I'm really excited
because I remember that we all sat at a dining room table together looking at people's posts and comments.
Yeah, and I was doing a live video from another room, and y'all, I remember you being like exceedingly loud downstairs and wanting to I don't know, yell at you all down the stairs to hush it.
And I know that there was one video, one live that we all photo bombed, live feed bombed you, and ran behind you during your live.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
See, I do remember.
You showed your pregnant belly. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anyway, we had such great feedback from that class. It was people, one of the quotes was literally, these prompts are irritatingly good. Somebody said that, and I was like, I think that's the best compliment I've ever had. But I think that's also a really good way to describe my personality in general. It's
I was gonna say, that's Sarah. If somebody was like, Sarah's irritatingly helpful, Sarah would be like, yes.
Yes. That was the best feedback ever. Be irritatingly good. Oh yes. Accomplishments unlocked. So 3 ways, Anna, to know that you're doing journaling wrong. Firstly, We did think about these. We know what they are. We already know what those 3 ways are. Like, they're on paper, they're decided upon. The decision's been made. Um, but I think that typically if somebody said to us, "I'm afraid of doing it wrong," we would say, "There is no wrong way."
That's something we would say.
That is, we'd be like, "Just make it your own. There's no wrong way." So we really had to think about this,
Yes.
and we did come up with 3 though. Are you ready for the first one? You already know
Yeah,
it, but
I do
do you think
already know. I'll pretend like I didn't know it.
okay, so you're gonna be
I'm gonna
shocked
be
and
shocked,
amazed.
surprised, and delighted.
Okay. The first one, the first way to know that you are journaling incorrectly would be dun, 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 if you feel worse after journaling than you did before.
What?
So
That's such
stop.
a knowledge bomb. There are so many times that I negative Nancy my way through a journal entry, and I can totally see now how that's totally unhelpful. Mind blown.
You're so ridiculous. Yeah. In serious though, in seriousness, if you feel worse after a journaling period or session or writing even just one sentence down, if you feel worse afterwards, like you didn't get anything out of your mind or like more confused, less clear, there's something to look at. I don't know what it is that needs to be looked at because that would vary, but there's something there.
Right. Like, well, if you're always so like journaling is a good time to kind of like get your thoughts out. And sometimes we're not always like the beacon of hope and joy that like most people like feel like they should be. And so I think that there's like a time and a place of being like, wow, my day really stunk. But when you find yourself in this kind of repeated process of like you can only jot down negatives that like start to pile on like more, like you think of like the one bad thing that happened today and then all of a sudden becomes a pile of like the 10 bad things that happened that week,
Mm.
and you can't like adjust out of that mindset of just thinking about like the worst things, worst air quotes, that you can't get out of that negative mindset, then you're just kind of like perpetuating it, and then you're not using the tool of journaling to help like release it and like move on. Instead, you're just like adding towards the mind clutter.
Are you saying that you have experience in not being the beacon of joy?
I am I am the beacon of joy.
Just teasing you.
Uh, I am I am I am community voted a sunshiny delight.
I You are, you really are. You are,
That
in
always
your
takes
own
me
way,
by
now that I'm saying
surprise.
that. Like, you you are very delightful and sunshiny, but also, if you're, like, Capricorn mooning and you're just like, "Leave me alone, I want my lights off so I can sit here and veg," then you're, like, on purpose less delightful. You're like a light that shuts itself off so the bugs don't come near it, but you do it on purpose. You, like, flip the switch and you're like, "No bugs, thank you."
Yeah.
But when
I
you're, like, switches
approve
on.
that message. That
Yep,
is,
that's very much you.
yes,
Alright. Is that why the lights are always off at your house, by the way?
the bugs.
Like me? This is what I just
Literal
had an
and
epiphany.
philosophical bugs.
Yeah, I don't like how the darkness of your house, and you know I don't like it, so you keep the lights off so that I won't come over. Is
I
that
like
what's
how you
happening?
just self-identified as a bug.
You're just trying to repel me by keeping your lights off.
If you were a bug, what kind of bug would you be?
Um, I would be something what lives a long time?
I mean, bug-wise? I don't know. I don't think they're known for their
Their
exceptionally long
longevity?
life cycles.
I know, like a tick. I just, like, leech on. Just kidding. I was gonna say a butterfly because it's so pretty, but, like, they don't live that long, and I don't want a short, untimely death. So I have to think about that.
If you were a bug, what would you be?
I have to think. I need to get a book. I need to do some research before I answer that question.
Okay, then.
Okay. The second way,
I look forward to your conclusion on this.
my assessment of what I'm going to look this now I have to look it up.
Okay.
Oh, a spider.
I was gonna say for spider probably feels good.
Yeah. Like up in a corner, looking down on everybody in my web.
Collecting other bugs so you can suck the life out of them. Yeah, I feel like you're following the same thread as the tick, and now you've done what you should do when you're journaling is get into this repeated
Yeah,
negative brain dump. See, we're doing what you shouldn't do to help.
exactly. Feel worse after because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like a life eating bug life eater. I don't know what that I'm trying to say.
Maybe
And
you
this
should look up bug pacifists. Like what bugs in the realm of the world
worms,
are pacifists?
worms,
But
Anna.
they are not pacifists. They're out to get you.
That's how I that's that's not a true fact.
I think that depends on the eye of the beholder.
It's a made up fact. And number it's an incorrect opinion. The second way that you know that you are doing something wrong in your journaling is by having incorrect opinions. I'm just kidding. That's not it. You can have incorrect opinions in your journaling if you want, but it is a problem if you reread what you wrote like immediately after. We contend whether your opinions are correct or not that you should not reread what you wrote in that moment right away.
And maybe
Because
sometimes not ever.
yeah, maybe sometimes not ever. Do you want to speak to that?
No, just like unless like you wrote something that was like really motivational or uplifting or like a note to self that like you want to like get a bookmark or a paperclip to save that page for like a day that you're having a really hard day or something that you go back to like a journal entry that you wrote for your future self to like help them out, then I think you should go back and read. But I think in general, journals and our thought processes on them are meant to kind of like get your thoughts out of your head and onto paper so that you don't have to continue holding space for them unless like I said unless you have like a journal entry that is like the highest of vibes, it's like the raddest journal entry you ever did, then maybe put like a paperclip on it so that like if you're feeling in a slump or stuck you can go back and read that for motivational purposes. But I would say that the majority of people who are journaling to get the mind clutter out, and there's not really a good reason to put it back in.
If it's totally tubular.
Totally tubular. I'm telling you, we're gonna go on a like slight TSC branding jaunt into our DeLorean to backspin into the 80s where our brand colors and personalities can really pop in a really neato sense.
Mm. Mhm.
Stay tuned. As our chief branding officer, you can just we can just wait until I start like how do I mix that with like our also very like clean like logo and things. I'll figure it out.
Yes, I bet you will.
Gonna make it
Just
work.
totally like, how do you do totally tubular in a image?
How can you be elegantly tubular? I'll figure it
That is
out.
us. Well, that brings us to thing number 3. You know, this really weaves in easily here. What writing how to know that you might be journaling, not the best way is if you write what you think you should write or like trying to find the correct words versus what just wants to come out. So if elegantly tubular wants to come out versus trying to be more like you're trying to be more concise or say the right thing or like follow the prompt in some way that your mind has created for you to do. If you want to write elegantly tubular, that is what you should write. And that is our third thing is really trying to write what you think you should be writing, or like filtering your thoughts versus just getting it out.
Right. Like I was saying that like sometimes if I'm in a writing slump for journals, and I've had many journals over the years, and actually it was funny that Sarah and I were talking about journaling today because I actually had my current journal open and out on my desk with some like notes to self today before we did this. But like sometimes like if I don't know where to start, I might do like a card pull of like who I am today, or like a what I'm grateful for, because it makes me think about what I'm grateful for, and then those moments of being grateful might trigger memories from the week of times that I was grateful, or like in a happy moment, and then I can start writing about those things, which I know sounds really silly, like starting with an I am grateful prompt. And but if that doesn't feel good for you, like don't do that. Like if like your start off is like, today I'm so mad and I don't even know why, but like that's like the first thing that comes into your mind and you just like need to get it out on paper. Like do what feels right for you in that moment. I've also like gone places to journal and like doodled my surroundings, and then like found myself like writing after that, like covering the pages in drawings and then writing around them. But I think that there's like really, for a podcast about what are the ways to do it wrong, that there's also like not a lot of wrong ways
Yeah.
unless you're using it to be counterproductive, you know.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. That's like a fourth way.
Yeah. So like we said, like if you're using it to just really like get your mind clutter out, and you can't get out of this like perpetual my life stinks mindset, and then you go back and read it, and then the next day you read it again and you write again how it's not getting any better, like that's not helpful, because like I said, it's supposed to be helping to clear out your mind clutter.
Mhm.
And that even if you just take a moment to think about like a happy moment of that day or something that makes you really happy, and you know, like the color yellow makes you really happy, and like maybe you start writing about the color yellow and why it makes you happy, and it takes you on a different way of writing.
Yeah,
I think as long as you're not being deconstructive, then you're journaling proactively.
I like it. So let's just bullet point recap here. Way number one, you feel worse afterwards. Then think about what you're writing. Like, why is that? Thing number two, if you stop and reread it, like right then, and start being kind of critical of yourself or questioning, makes you more confused, that's no good. Thing number three, if you are trying to do it correctly, or, what you think you should be writing versus what you want to be saying, uh, that's not super helpful. And then, as Anna added, a bonus one here. Number four was sort of writing to, how'd you say it? Like, just not to like procrastinate or like not be productive. Like, you're just kind of
Deconstructive.
not, yeah, I think that unconstructive is what we're looking
Um,
for.
I like
Unconstructive.
deconstructive. I'm gonna
Deconstructive.
write deconstructive in my journal because it's what feels right for me.
Okay.
Are you? Don't you just really love it when I'm on the podcast? I feel
I
like
do,
it's
actually.
just so authentically myself.
It is. It's so good. So good. All right then. Well, there you go. There are some tips for you. Oh, the last thing we did talk about was a hot tip, Anna, for when you feel like you can't put pen to paper and nothing's coming out. What do you do?
Well, I did share a little bit that sometimes I might write
Oh,
about
yeah,
what
that's right.
I'm grateful for,
Mhm.
which
You
I
did.
know sounds very cliche, but for me, like Sarah was just talking about before we came on here, I'm a Capricorn moon. I like can get very solemn, and shout out to my happy hermits. If you know, you know, that like sometimes me just being like taking a moment and being grateful, because like as often as like I do have, you know, mind webs that take me down, I also remember a lot of times that like my life currently in its current state and the current body that I have, that I fight with in my life, that I'm also like the happiest that I've been in my life. And to take little moments of being like super grateful and to write that down first can really set the tone for me to continue to like cheerlead for myself. And I will say that even saying out loud, "This is the happiest I've been in my life," does not feel like a normal thing to say. But that is like it's a really great jumping off point like about that. And also, you know how TSC really loves a good card pull of who am I today. So sometimes if I like really just am like I haven't journaled in forever and I just need to get in there and I feel like I have nothing to say, I might just ask who am I today and pull a card, and I'll start with writing down like what deck I'm using, what card I got, the definition of the card, and then like how it applies to me. And that sometimes can jumpstart kind of like a wave of consciousness to
The
continue to
wave.
write about. So
Yeah.
that's something that I do. Sarah.
Yeah. Well, um, I tend to find that I am either inspired or I'm just not inspired. Like it's just kind of so I guess I can't really answer this question, but I will
So you
though
don't force it. So for you
no,
don't
I
force
don't
it.
force it. If I'm not feeling it, then I just and this is like any writing whatsoever. If there's like no thought there, then I just don't have a thought.
Well,
Um, well, what I do though is that when I have an abundance of thoughts, like if I'm in the shower or I don't know, like just at Anna's house or wherever, and I have some like idea or I hear a sentence or like I have this, oh, I should consider that. I keep a notes, like my notes app on my phone. I just write one liner. And then if I am like, if I do have the time and the space to sit down and be writing something and I want to use that time and space, then I'll go back through the notes and sort of see like, oh yeah, this thought or someone mentioned this thing or and then that helps. But if I so I'll either turn to inspiration, but I do make a habit of when I think something that I don't want to forget and I'm inspired, I make a note of it right away so I don't forget.
I was gonna say that's almost like another tip for journaling if you know you're doing it wrong.
Somebody tip.
Or that well that no, I think a lot of people who are like, I'm gonna journal, they start to think that they have to journal every day for like 15 minutes and like it has to be this like ritual routine of journaling, which if it is, that's great. Like if that's part of like your morning tea and coffee, I sit down in the window in the morning sun and I just like write what I'm grateful for, I pull some cards, or I just like brain dump my to-do list, because a to-do list could be journaling if you want it to be. But that like that it's also your journal is a no pressure zone. So this one that I have out right now, my first entry is from 2018 and I'm only like this far in. But like I do keep it. It's always under my desk and like some days it's only like this much and some days it's like 4 pages and some days it's a half a page, but that not to push it. You can still be somebody who journals even if you don't journal all day every day, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah,
And it can be short or it can be long, that there's no prescription for how you have to journal.
true. There is not, won't be, shan't be, can't
Shot.
be. There you go.
Can't make me.
Can't. Can't force you to be a bug if you don't want to be a bug. That's
It's true.
not really related.
I can't wait to see if any of you decide, depending on where you watch this podcast, if in the comments you let us know what kind of bug you would be, but you just write the name of the bug with no context.
Oh yeah, you should do that. Then we'll
That would
know.
be a lot of fun. Just like write in the comments,
Yeah,
I
but
like just the name.
if people listen on the podcast though, there's not a comment spot. So you'd have to like go onto a recent social media post and just start dropping your bug word.
Yeah, or
Or like
emoji, if there's
or
an
in the
emoji.
journaling Facebook group, if you're in the free
Yeah,
class, just start posting like your bug word or an emoji. And
which
then
one it would be.
we'll know.
We'll
We'll be
know
like,
we'll
our
know
secret
you've
language.
heard this
Yeah.
conversation.
You listen to the end. All right. Well, speaking of that journaling class, if you want to register, it starts in a few days. There's a free class. There is also a VIP version, which gets you some extra Zoom calls and a signed copy of my magical self care book, and also our VIP
Woohoo.
playbook, which has some extra printables and tips and tricks for you. So, and we have a smaller community space too for that. So you can also register for VIP. But like I said, we had like 15,000, 16,000 people take the free class last year in the summer. And we're really excited to host it again this year for thousands more because we know that it's very impactful. And people are still telling us a year late or almost a year later, 10 months
How
later.
frustratingly good It
Yeah,
is.
irritatingly good, like how that
Irritating.
class changed something in their lives. They're like, "I took that and like this whole thing changed for me." So, that's such great feedback, and that's how we know that it's good and you should be there. And you can find the link all around this here podcast.
Yes, you
All right.
can with
Yes,
bug
you
emojis.
can. All right, Anna, thank you for hanging with me. Always appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Mhm. Until next time, we hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day.
Ahead. Bye.
If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. There are new episodes every Tuesday and astro forecasts for the week ahead every Friday. If there's any topics you'd want to hear, anything you want us to dive deeper into, shoot us an email at magic@thesistersenchanted.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.